Hello everyone, this is Chris Roberts, and I'm coming to you from location in Wilmslow, United Kingdom, which is where we have our Foundry 42 offices, which I'm visiting right after Gamescom, which we had last week. And this is 10 for the Chairman. So for those of you that don't know, 10 for the Chairman is where I take 10 questions from subscribers and answer them to the best of my ability. Subscribers are the subset of our community that contribute a little bit of extra money every month to enable us to do a extended amount of sort of community content. So that would be this show and also Around the Verse, plus things like Jump Point, which is a magazine that we do, a monthly magazine, about 50 to 70 pages, and various other stuff that we do, like some Flare stuff in hangars and inside CIG pieces. So thank you to the subscribers for allowing us to do all this stuff and have a high degree of communication to everybody out there in the community without taking away from what we're investing into making Star Citizen the best space sim we possibly can. Without further ado, because I'm sort of not in my office and don't have any great props to show or do anything, I will get to the questions. So the first one comes from Randy Barsteward. I wonder if that was deliberate. Asks, with multi-crew ships being available in Arena Commander in the hopefully not too distant future, have you given any thought to gifting guest passes so we can invite non-backers to join us for a week or so? Okay, so the multi-crew ships are not going to be available in Arena Commander in the next few months because first of all we've got to get V0.9 out and then V1.0. But hopefully by the end of the year we should have a drop with some multi-crew ships in. But we still have some technical stuff. So we showed kind of the prototype at Gamescom, but we have to get the double precision working because we really need bigger spaces and bigger areas when we get bigger ships. So that's kind of what we want to have working before we sort of roll out the multi-crew ships to everyone, which hopefully will be by the end of this year. But we'll see. So gift passes, so invite non-backers to join us for a week or so. So that's kind of a cool idea. I mean, I think at the moment we weren't necessarily planning on that because that's sort of extra functionality, sort of like a guest pass or something like that. But I would assume that perhaps you could do something where someone would have to have a registered account, and as long as they installed and downloaded it, and then we could basically assign a badge, or you as a backer could assign a badge, like a crew badge. That would enable them to maybe join as a crew member, but we'd have to have the lobby system for the multi-crew ships going on. So I'll take that under consideration. It could actually be pretty cool. Certainly be fun to have a multi-crew ship and get some of your friends to sort of join you and have some fun on it and go from there. Thanks for the suggestion, Randy. Next question comes from Machine, or Machine, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but who asks, how widespread will corruption be in the Star Citizen universe, if it will even exist there? For example, will there be police members that may take bribes, or governors of backwater planets that may add extra taxes or place bounties in people that they just don't like? How strong is the UEE? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we're trying to simulate a fairly realistic world, so that probably means there is a level of corruption in some places. I mean, we're certainly, we were thinking about some mechanics if you're a pirate and you get captured and you're going to get put into jail. Basically, the fiction for you going back out into the game versus literally being incarcerated and not being able to play the game, which wouldn't be that much fun, is that you essentially have to sort of bribe your way out of prison or do something like that. So we're definitely going to fictionally have some corruption that's happening, and so I think that will just add an extra wrinkle. I think there will be less of that the closer you are to sort of the stronger or the core UE areas. So I guess I'm not sure whether it's going to be totally widespread, but there'll definitely be a feature in some areas that there will be some level of corruption. Okay, next question comes from Quanique Tuk. I definitely don't think I pronounced that correctly, but hey, can you give us an idea of the percentage of, let's say, light, medium, heavy ships in the game universe so far purchased by the backers? Will these numbers factor into the economic model? I would assume there is a more light, aka cheap models in circulations than heavy. So right in front of me, I don't have all the numbers, but Definitely the Aurora is by far the biggest, there's more Auroras than anything else by quite a lot. I would say Auroras probably make up something like 60 or 70% of the actual ships and pledges out there, and then beyond that, it's sort of the next highest one is the 300i, then it's followed by the Hornet, then it's followed by the Freelancer, then it's followed by the Constellation. I don't know. I would say there's probably maybe 60-70% was high for the Aurora, but I would definitely say there was 2.5 times as many Auroras as there were 300Is. Having said that, when you ask, will these numbers factor in with the economic model? Yes, they will, because we're going to be designing the economy in such a way that like all ships have to be produced, and so the simpler ships, the Auroras, will be produced in much more volume than say a much rarer ship like something like an Idris corvette. Once you're flying around in the game, obviously the Auroras will probably be plentiful in terms of being able to buy them in the same way that probably getting a Ford Fiesta is pretty plentiful, or some sort of not particularly expensive or fancy car, it will factor in. So therefore, the numbers of them, from our standpoint, hopefully will correlate through in terms of from what people have now, and also kind of the frequency or rarity of that they are in the game. Okay, next question comes from Jukebox, who asks, will we be able to board and capture all ships and stations in the persistent universe? What would be the exceptions if there are any? So you'll be able to board and capture most ships and stations, but I wouldn't say all. There'll definitely be some space stations in the persistent universe that are sort of more like a planet-side module, where they're not really open for combat and they're not really open for people to sort of capture them and own them. So that would definitely be an exception. Can't think of any ships that would be like that. But it would definitely be sort of the non-persistent stations, the ones that would be instants. You would not be able to capture. The same would be for maybe an asteroid base that was, not a solo one-off persistent one. Okay, next question comes from Verleen, who asks, how do you implement 3D voice chat? It would be amazing if my friends hear me from the right position. So yes, we definitely actually want to implement 3D voice chat. We're looking at several ways of doing it. We're going to be moving to a new sound system as well in the engine, WIs from Fmod. So that's kind of the goal. It's not working right now, but we kind of want to filter and process. Like if I'm chatting to my friend and we're playing together, my voice is sort of filtered by my situation. I got a helmet on, or I don't have a helmet on, whether I'm in an area that's echoey or not, or whether I'm behind him in the front or the side. So we are definitely planning to do that. I think it will be pretty cool and make the game more immersive. So stand by for that. Next question comes from GHG, who asks, will there be some built-in mechanics in-game to punish people with LTI that use their ship as a ramming weapon to destroy other ships constantly in the persistent universe? I don't have any LTI ships, and I would want to be very careful, but I can just see Trolling Jack, redacted, ramming people for redacted, and giggles. Yeah, so I mean, I think we're talking about, first of all, on Arena Commander, we're trying to figure out some ways to maybe make some of the ramming a little less prevalent. And then outside of that, in the persistent universe, I think, the more you sort of crash into something, even if you have LTI, the insurance companies, you're just not going to get the ship replaced as quickly. And of course, if you're doing it with a rare ship and there's not any of those ships in production nearby, then it takes you some time to get the new ship. So we're not, the idea is it shouldn't be really easy for you to do a lot of ramming in your ship. It should be a bit of a pain in the ass, and the more you do, maybe you have to wait a little longer. And if you do way too much of it, maybe there won't be any ships in that star system, and you'll have to wait till one gets shipped in from another star system. So that's kind of the idea. We probably will want to have some other features there to stop people just being obnoxious, but we're still trying to think through all that sort of stuff, so we'll see what happens. Okay, next question comes from Cold Gas, who asks, my question is all about the systems in the universe itself. In our real universe, systems with only one star in it are quite unlikely. There are way more systems with 2 or more stars in it. Will we see such twin or multi-star systems in the game too? So that's a good question. I don't know. I think there's a couple of systems that we plan to have binary stars or whatever. So we're definitely going to have a bit of a variety and sort of go from there. I mean, the only one caveat with the sort of two stars is handling the lighting situation out in space, because CryEngine is sort of built with the assumption of one sun, and so we'd have to have the second one as a separate sort of light, but that's definitely handleable. Okay, next question comes from Bear, who asks, many hot aspheroidals have dual engine control, and many of the ships, especially the racers, have twin engines. Will we be able to take advantage of this level of control for the appropriate ship types? Well, I don't think right now that will be happening, because we sort of treat the engines as one engine, whether there's two nozzles or just one nozzle. But longer term, I definitely could see that potentially happening, because we can have and will have the fidelity for that. So I guess we'll just sort of wait and see on that stuff. Next question comes from Dark Armor, who asks, how are jump point sizes going to be handled? Will it be more or less random for undiscovered systems? Do jump points widen with continuous use over time as trade lanes become established? So I don't think we're going to have the jump point itself dynamically change, but we will definitely have jump points of different sizes. So one jump point is big enough to take capital ships as well as smaller ships. Another jump point is only big enough for a small light ship. So think of it almost like a mountain pass and what you can fit through it. And so that will kind of make some interesting dynamics, because maybe the bigger ship would have to jump around 2 or 3 hops, but a smaller ship can go there in 1 hop, because there's this jump point that's pretty unstable and can only take a sort of small ship from the outside. So we're going to sort of use a little bit of that for some of the interest of the balancing, and obviously the jump points that allow the bigger ships to go through are probably the ones that become more common for trading lanes. So things like starfarers and stuff can go through them. So I think that'll make a kind of interesting dynamic in sort of trading lanes and what happens out in space. So, but that's still early stages of sort of the development of the persistent universe. Okay, last question comes from Lemon Squid, who asks, after watching the Connie commercial, we have been exposed to landing on an unexplored planet which is capable of being terraformed. What will we, the explorer of this planet, be able to do? Will we be able to name it, decide what it's worth, decide the fate of pre-existing life, etc.? If you were exploring you come through a jump point, which is kind of what was happening in the Constellation commercial, you certainly would be able to name the jump point and the star system, and then if you came down to a planet, potentially you could be able to name the planet. You won't be able to decide the fate of pre-existing life. You should have read the small print at the end of the commercial, which said that it's a criminal act to break the Fair Chance Act, which is something that was put in place a few hundred years ago in the UEE to make sure that we, or Earth, or members of the UEE didn't interfere with evolving life forms. But I think there certainly will be the ability to sort of claim something as a discovery. And stuff beyond that would be stuff that would be sort of for versions of the game after 1.0. Okay, so there you are. That's my 10 questions here from sunny Manchester. And well, I'd like to thank you all for listening and tuning in to 10 for the Chairman. I hope my questions were helpful. I'd like to thank everyone out there for backing the game. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to be making the game in the quality that we're making it. And I'd like to thank all the subscribers for contributing that extra amount of money, allowing us to do programs like this. So I will see you next week in sunnier LA. Bye.